A lot of us grew up hearing things about gray hair that weren't necessarily true. And while they might seem harmless on the surface, a lot of those old gray hair myths kept many of us from ditching the dye years past when we were ready to do so. And some of you watching this still might be dyeing your hair because of these misconceptions. So today we're going to bust some of those gray hair myths and find out what's the truth about gray hair. Hi, I'm Katie Emery, the founder of KatieGoesPlatinum.com. It's a website completely devoted to the topic of gray hair. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you here. Now, before we dive into the myths, I just wanted to point out that earlier this year, I did a comprehensive gray hair research study and amassed some data. I'm going to show you the slides in this video, and I'll put a link to that study in the show notes below. And finally, just a quick reminder, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, fun, or informative, please do give it a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, let's get started. Myth number one, gray hair is coarse and unmanageable. I believed this myth for years, and it was one of the number one reasons I kept dyeing my hair. So believe me, I was shocked, surprised, and delighted when I grew my hair out and discovered that my naturally silver hair is silky, shiny, and smooth. And I've heard the same from many of our other silver sisters. So when you let those gray roots grow in for the first time, it might seem like they're all coarse and sticking straight up, but believe me, once you get a few inches of growth, they go back down just like your regular hair. It's just that they're so much more noticeable compared to your dyed hair. So just to refer to that study I mentioned, when I polled my readers, 21.7% found that their new gray growth was smoother than their dyed hair, and only 14.9% found that it was coarser. The best way to predict what your gray hair texture will be like is to think back to your hair before all the hormones kicked in. So we're talking pre-pubescent child. If your hair back then was smooth and shiny, your gray hair probably will be too. And if your hair back then was coarse or wiry, your gray hair will probably be coarse or wiry too. Now, if your gray hair is coarse and wiry and it's driving you a little crazy, then you can do a couple things. One is you can hydrate your hair by using a moisturizing shampoo. The one that I recommend is the BTW Company's Daily Moisturizing Shampoo. They also have a daily moisturizing conditioner that I really love. And once a week, you should try to use a deep conditioner. I recommend the Joico K-Pack. Those are the products I use at home. Even though my hair is smooth, I just feel like they give it a little oomph and they add some hydration, which gray hair does need. If you are already gray, would you do me a favor and go down into the comments and let me know if your gray hair is smoother or coarser than your dyed hair. I'm just curious, and give me a hint about what your hair was like as a child. I want to hear your experience. Myth number two is a fairly harmless one. I don't think this would keep anybody from going gray, but this myth is the one that says stress can make you go gray overnight. Now, we've all heard the stories about tragic historical figures like Marie Antoinette going gray virtually overnight due to stress. But it is simply not possible. Can stress or traumatic events influence the growth of gray hair? There's a lot of debate on the subject. There are some scientific studies that make it sound like it is possible, but definitely it would never happen overnight. The number one thing that will influence what age you go gray, or if you go gray at all, is genetics. So if you're curious about the possibility of you getting gray hair, look to your parents, your grandparents, your older siblings, your aunts and uncles, and then that will give you a better idea of when you are likely to go gray, if at all. Another thing that determines when you will go gray is your race or ethnicity. Caucasian people tend to go gray much younger than other races. Some lifestyle choices will also influence when you go gray. For example, smoking has been tied to premature gray hair, and nutritional deficiencies such as a lack of B12 or iron have been linked to gray hair. But just remember, going gray overnight from fear or stress is not going to happen. Myth number three, women with gray hair are frumpy. Take this idea, write it on a piece of paper, crumple it into a ball, and throw it in the trash, which is where it belongs. Now look at these ladies in an article that I did on my blog, which I'll link to below, and tell me if they look frumpy. And also look at my fellow YouTubers, Nicole Johnson and Elisa Barini Gomez. Do they look frumpy to you? Definitely not. These are sexy, beautiful women. If you're afraid to go gray because you're afraid you'll look frumpy or dowdy, then don't worry. There are things you can do to prevent this. Do you know what makes somebody really look frumpy? Ill-fitting clothing, bad color choices, and unflattering haircuts. Frumpy is a choice, not a side effect of going gray. Now, I say this to you not as somebody who's sitting around all day in evening gowns. Most days, I sit in my house with no makeup on, my hair in a ponytail, wearing yoga pants, and covered in pug fur. However, when I want to make an effort, which I know many of you do too, not required, but if you feel like making an effort and you feel like making your gray hair look its best, find a good stylist, get a great haircut, find some flattering hairstyles to wear, figure out which colors look best on you, and no matter what age you are, you can make style choices in your clothing that flatter you, that are hip and modern or comfortable, whatever you like. But even just wearing well-fitting clothing in good colors goes a long way to taking away any chance of looking frumpy or dowdy. Myth number 4. Long gray hair is a no-no under any circumstances. There's a certain segment of the population that thinks that long hair on women over 40 is verboten and long gray hair is the worst thing imaginable. Believe me, I get the comments from people on Instagram and YouTube about it. I hear it all the time. I don't know why some people have such a hatred for long hair on women, especially long gray hair if they're over a certain age. And I think anybody should wear the hairstyle they like. Do what you want to do what looks good on you. Let's try not to judge other people. If you are a person who prefers to wear long hair, I'll put a post in the show notes below that is all about long gray hairstyles. And there are a bazillion photos in there that will give you some inspiration. Just know that it is not taboo to wear long gray hair. You do you. Now, before we go on to the most harmful myth, the one that keeps the most women from embracing their gray hair, I'm just going to toss a bonus myth in here for you. It's more like a gray hair old wives' tale, but it actually is harmful. The myth is that if you pluck one gray hair, 3 will grow in its place. That is absolutely not true, but what it will do or could do is damage your follicle, and then no hair will grow in that spot. And I know you don't want that, so do not pluck those gray hairs if you're trying to not go gray. Okay, gray hair myth number 5. Gray hair means you're old. The main reason that we equate gray hair solely with old age is because 75% of the women around the world dye their hair. If hair dye had never been invented, we would see people of all ages walking around with gray hair at certain stages of their life. I have had readers tell me they got their first gray hair at 5. I've had readers who were fully gray by 21. I think I myself was fully gray probably in my early 30s. And some people never go gray. The idea that gray hair is only for the super elderly is not a harmless myth. For one thing, it perpetuates stereotypes about old age, but also it keeps people dyeing their hair for years past when they were ready to ditch the dye. People with severe hair dye allergies, people who are just sick and tired of spending the money or their time chasing their roots, they keep doing it for years past when they're ready because they're afraid of looking old, afraid that it might harm their job prospects, and afraid it will hurt them in the dating scene, among other fears. This is not a harmless stereotype. And I am hopeful that now that the silver revolution is growing, maybe our children and their children won't equate gray hair just with old age, but instead just see it as one of the many shades of natural hair color and something not to be feared. If you are afraid that you will look old with gray hair, just so you know, a lot of us who went gray found that we actually look younger and more vibrant with our gray hair because it gives a nice glow to our complexion. And Mother Nature knows what she's doing. I have not seen anybody yet who looked older or worse with their gray hair than they did with their dyed hair. Make sure to go to the video description box below where I am going to post 2 articles. One of them is a before and after article all about women before and after they went gray. It has a lot of amazing photos I think you'll enjoy. And the second article is just tips on how not to look old with gray hair. And I think it will really help you get past that fear and enjoy ditching the dye. Now, please take a minute and head down to the comment section below and make sure to let me know if there are any gray hair myths, lies, or misconceptions that kept you from growing gray and what those were. I really want to hear from you. And now, as promised, I'm going to leave a video right after this one for you to watch all about my friend Joni Peck and what she has to say about going gray with long hair over 50. I know you're going to enjoy it. And if you haven't done so already, if you found this video helpful, fun, or informative, please do give it a big thumbs up and hit the like and subscribe button. If you want to get notified every time I have a new video, make sure you hit the little alarm bell. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming here today. I can't wait to hear from you.